So we're live. I just launched this live stream, but we want to talk about the scandal of the week. And this is a big one, of course. It's the signal text that were leaked to a reporter or
So
the
Brian,
editor.
Brian, close it. It's not good because it doesn't show the video. I don't see the video anywhere.
Well,
On
this
your
is working.
post, on
What's
your
that?
post, it doesn't show the video.
So I want to clearly people are viewing it because the videos because you can see it. You just gotta click the play button. It will show. But I
No,
want to
it's
talk.
Brian.
I want to talk
Go to your
about the
Brian.
scandal. Yes,
Go to your profile. You'll see what I mean.
you just got to hit the play button.
All I see is
It's there.
I don't
I
see that. You
see it.
take
It's fine, Ed. Let's continue. So I'm going to talk about the scandal. Of course, it's the leaked text that Mike Waltz invited the Atlantic editor-in-chief, Jeffrey Goldberg, into this Signal group chat and then leaked all sorts of information to that editor-in-chief. Now, this is something that under normal circumstances would probably be the biggest scandal of any presidential administration. But here we are in the Trump administration, and they're brushing it under the rug as if it's some sort of, nothing burger. I want to do something different today, and I want to actually invite guests. And if you're viewing this on X, there is actually a link in the video description where you can click the StreamYard link and you can join us live via video in this video to actually discuss and push back on what we're saying or agree with us, right? So if you want to do that, we can bring people up. Just click that link. We're also going to be taking live feedback via the comment section. If you are on X or YouTube, you can leave comments and we will bring those comments up and reply to them. I see people are already doing that right now.
so
So let's jump right into it, Ed.
yeah. So I mean, the way they're spinning this from the White House, the way they're trying to make excuse after excuse after excuse, hoping that just one of these excuses will, gain momentum, or the right-wing media like Fox News will jump all over one of these excuses. It's despicable to me. It's disgusting. Just say we screwed up. This was a mess up, and fire somebody who's responsible for it. That's the only way you fix this. Now, let's look at what happened, and let's look at some of the excuses that the Trump White House are making for this. The conversation took place, and now the Trump White House, now the DNI, now Pete Hegseth, Tulsi Gabbard, John Ratcliffe, they're claiming that it wasn't classified information. The information was attack plans. We saw Pete Hegseth say that they weren't war plans, and now they're admitting it. No, they were attack plans. They could be considered war plans. It's like me going on vacation, telling you, Brian, that I'm going to Tokyo on January 4th at 2 p.m. Eastern time, and I'll be landing at the Tokyo airport. And you saying, no, those aren't travel plans because you didn't tell me the exact flight and airline that you're taking, and you didn't tell me how you're going to get to the airport and get from the airport to your hotel. It's disgusting. It just doesn't make any sense. So let's just say that they weren't classified, even though they were, but let's say that they were declassified because Pete Hegseth released them and that automatically declassifies them. I'm hearing that as an excuse from some people. Let's say that was the case. Then aren't you responsible for releasing or declassifying information that, if got in the wrong hands, and it was in the wrong hands in that it went to a journalist, could have resulted in the deaths of U.S. service members? To me, that's even more appalling than if it was considered classified.
Yes. So I actually took these images from the text messages that Jeffrey Goldstein posted earlier today. Goldberg, I'm sorry. Remember during the actual hearing yesterday, when Tulsi Gabbard, DNI, well as Ratcliffe and other members of Trump's inner circle and national security apparatus stated multiple times that they did not recall if any classified information was ever posted within these group chats. Now, here on the screen right now is actually one of the messages. This was actually sent by Pete Hegseth before saying that operational security was intact and everything was great, which is so ironic to begin with. But you can see he's actually presenting to the group of 18 people the exact times of launches. So 12:15 a.m. Eastern Time. F-18's launch, first strike package. Then you can go down to the bottom and you can see that they're talking about drone attacks, Tomahawk launches at the exact minute. So at 3:36 p.m., F-18 second strike starts. Also, first sea-based Tomahawks launch. So if anybody, any enemy had this information, they could be fighting back, defending themselves, and possibly putting our military personnel in danger.
Well, and we also had to realize that this was not. We hear signals, so it's unhackable because it's encrypted end-to-end communications. Let's realize that this wasn't on protected government devices. This conversation was being sent back and forth between personal devices, likely iPhones, Android devices that were running the Signal app. So if anybody was hacked into, let's say, Pete Hegseth or let's say Tulsi Gabbard's smartphone, regardless of how safe Signal is or how encrypted Signal is, they could be getting that information. If they had a clone of one of their phones, this is very possible, they would be getting that information. So to pretend that, even if, let's just say Goldberg wasn't on this thread, to pretend that this was a safe and secure method to transfer information about a U.S. attack plan that's about to happen within minutes is absurd. It's scary. I mean, if these conversations are being taken place on personal devices, what other conversations being taken place on their personal devices? Could Russia, could Iran, could one of our enemies have a clone of one of these individual phones, one of these individual personal devices? Who knows?
Yeah, and I think it's important to point out, and Signal actually tweeted about this morning. The Signal app has a very good history of not being hacked. It's not Signal that's being hacked, but it's the phones of the individuals using Signal. So if you have the Signal app on your phone, you can be hacked where somebody could either be viewing your screen remotely or actually accessing your Signal account remotely. Now, if there's 18 people within that chat, that alone is something that is a national security risk. But to add in there a civilian who has no security clearances and who is a reporter whom the Trump administration has called the enemy of the people, the irony is just baffling.
Yeah, now, it's funny to me that they're using that as like some kind of way to lessen the severity of what took place, is that Jeffrey Goldberg is an enemy of the people, or Jeffrey Goldberg deals in hoaxes, which he doesn't. I mean, that's what Trump is saying. But wouldn't that make things worse that you allowed him in on this conversation if he's not to be trusted?
Well, yeah. So you got to ask, like you said, Ed, if they're sharing this stuff with the enemy of the people, as they call them, then what are they sharing with people like Putin, who they call very smart and a good leader? Like, think about it.
I mean, it's indefensible. I think they realize that. But to see the White House press secretary come out and say, this isn't classified information, there's nothing wrong with it, even though your own guidelines say that this type of thing, these military attack plans, are top secret, and now suddenly they're not top secret. It's just so transparently false. It's just so transparent that you guys know you screwed up, but you won't take any responsibility for it. And that's nothing new for Trump. This is what Trump does. will never take responsibility for anything. He'll just come up with excuse after excuse after excuse to try and muddy the picture, blame others, and eventually he'll just come out with something else that makes the world and the media and the American people focus on something else. Like
Did you see the? Did you see the?
maybe he'll release another phony Epstein client list again, just to kind of get people's attention away from
Did
that.
you see the? Did you see the press conference around 1 o'clock today, where they basically tried to blame Biden by saying there's terrorists in Yemen and the Houthis should have been bombed by Biden, and if Biden did this, if Biden bombed them, then we wouldn't have had to do this, and none of this would ever happen. So they're already trying to shift the blame to Biden somehow after they first tried to shift the blame to the editor-in-chief of the Atlantic. And they're going to shift the blame multiple times before probably somebody will resign, is my guess. My guess is that somebody will resign. I do want to...
I think the person who resigns is going to be a lower level person that they somehow blame for all of this.
Yeah, I want to repeat, if you guys in the audience, I see a lot of comments, a lot of it's pushing back on what we're saying, unbelievably. If you want to come up and actually be on video, you can click that Signal link in the tweet. I also posted it in the comment section. Click that Signal link, have a video and audio source ready, and you can actually push back live on video. I'm guessing nobody's going to actually do that because nobody actually believes what they're saying in the comments. And
well, or if you're agreeing with us and you have something to say, feel free to join us as well.
Yeah. But we want to include the community, and we also want to have people that disagree with us, because that keeps us honest, that keeps us on our toes, and it allows us to continue to, try and explain to people the way we see things. And I don't think this one takes much explanation. I think that's probably why you don't see many people on the right deciding to come up. Some of these. Go ahead.
So I mean, what I'm hearing.
Wait, I got somebody. Can I bring somebody up? I got Martin Wolf. I don't know if he's in agreement with us. Let's see, Martin. I'm going to bring you up here in a second.
So
hey,
what I'm seeing from the right so far is that people are using the whataboutisms, and I'm not going to say the left doesn't use whataboutisms, but people are using whataboutisms. What about Biden's classified documents in his garage? What about Hillary Clinton's emails? But they're not actually focusing on what took place over the last 10 days. And to me, it's almost comical that when we were at the hearing yesterday and today, mostly yesterday, Tulsi Gabbard saying she doesn't recall, and John Ratcliffe saying he doesn't recall all this stuff that took place just 10 days ago. And are you telling me that these people didn't review
Ed, to cut in, do you see Martin in here? Do you not see him on the screen?
Why do you ask me that?
Well, do you see another person on the screen?
I see Martin.
Oh, okay. Well, we kept blabbing, and I thought we...
Well, I just wanted to get my thought in.
No, so Martin, are you in agreement with us, or are you not in agreement?
So yeah, I think I'm very much in agreement with you guys.
Yeah, I wanted somebody to push back. No, that's good though. Go ahead.
Just to sort of present myself, I'm just a regular person from Sweden, actually, and I've become pretty interested in U.S. politics pretty much since the last election. And so I'm looking at this from like an outside perspective. This is all over the news over here in Europe, and I just want to make it all clear for me, like clear some things up. For example, just how serious is this scandal for like the country's security and the country as a whole? How serious is this?
To me, it's very serious. Luckily, the plans didn't get intercepted by somebody with nefarious means and they didn't take nefarious actions, right? So we got the Houthis. Great job to the U.S. military for that. I think we're all happy with that, because we all don't want terrorists on this planet. But it could have gone wrong. And if this happened with this, it's basically the first military action by this administration. And they screwed up this bad already. What's going to happen the next time? What happens if we attack Iran, which I think a lot of people in America think will be happening?
What happens if, we're communicating about Ukrainian plans with Russia and Russia gets a hold of them? I think it's super concerning, especially since this was on personal devices, especially since a multiple number of these individuals were not even in the U.S. Tulsi Gabbard was in Asia. Walls was in Russia, I believe.
Witkoff was in,
Witkoff was in Russia. So I mean, it's super easy to intercept this stuff or plant something on these individuals' phones while they're traveling overseas.
Yeah, so Martin, this might veer off a little bit, but how are you viewing some of the contents within these text messages? I'm not sure if you've seen everything, but it's very disparaging towards Europe, basically saying that Europe owes us if we do this. They kind of hesitated. They didn't want to do it because it would benefit Europe's trade over our trade. Did you see that? And since you're a European, you're in Sweden, what do you think about that?
Yes, I saw something about JD Vance mentioning that he couldn't take like rescuing Europe or whatever that was, and it to me that makes it him more dislikable over here. I think from our perspective, this seems like a very serious time for the US and something that they have to sort of solve in any way, which is there was actually a question that I had about it as well. But to me, that makes me just feel like they don't really know the seriousness of these jobs that they have, especially Pete Hegseth.
Let me ask you this. What is the overall opinion of the Trump administration in Sweden? Like, are there, is it overwhelmingly we hate Trump? Is it kind of a mixed bag of, people supporting Trump, people feeling that Trump's doing a decent job? What's the overall, attitude toward him in Sweden right now?
The overall would be, I would say the overall would be that there's a lot of people that don't really like this Trump administration and the craziness that keeps popping up in our news. It's like every week there's something new over here.
How would you like to live over here?
I've actually been thinking about going to the US for next year for the World Cup, but I think people just don't really want to have anything to do with the US at this point. But it also depends which communities you are in, I would say, because we also got our far-right party here, which have become one of the largest parties recent years. I think they are maybe the second or third largest when it comes to polling. And there is a mixed bunch, even though the majority do have the same opinions when it comes to just Trump in general as a person, but also the whole political view.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of what I hear, and from a MAGA supporter, they would just say something like, well, that's because he's America first. Of course, our European allies aren't going to like that. But like that's like, this isn't 1870 anymore, right? This is 2025, and we live in a global economy. Everybody's, within a few clicks of communicating with anybody around the planet. So it's just very, very, I think, ignorant to express in that way. I do see.
Brian, I just sent you a video clip of Pete Hegseth about 20 minutes or so ago, talking about how the media said it was war plans, and now they're admitting that it was only attack plans. I think it'll be something interesting to maybe play and discuss. But did you want to bring somebody else up?
I don't see anybody else up there right now.
Could I just have? I just had one question though about this whole thing, because I can't believe how it is possible for these guys to potentially get away with this. The fact that every person from this group chat keeps making up their own stories and blame their own. They keep making up their own stories for how this happened, and I'm seeing all these hearings with the senators, etc., questioning them, and it makes me just so. It baffles me how this can continue. So
yeah, so I think the main issue right now is that Trump has put loyalists in every position, from the FBI to the DNI to the CIA. They're all loyalists. And then you go to the Senate and you go to the House, and Republicans control both the House and the Senate right now. So sure, they can ask questions, sure they can, condemn him. You see that a lot coming from the left. But unless Republicans or unless his own loyalists are going to, say enough is enough, this is not right, we have to, take action, we have to file criminal charges, we have to open an investigation, it's not going to happen. And maybe in 2026, we have another election, so the House can flip blue, it can flip to the Democrats, then there will be more accountability. Hopefully it goes that way, because otherwise we're going to have 4 years of absolutely no accountability.
And someone mentioned that this is worse than Watergate, which I'm not either an expert on. I don't really know that much about it. But where does this scandal place in
I
scandal?
think it's too different. I don't think it has very many similarities to Watergate. Watergate was a break-in by Nixon to steal tape. So I mean, it's not really the same thing
From a national security perspective. From a national security perspective,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think that from a national security perspective, it's really bad. I mean, I would say it's one of the worst breaches in the last 30, 40 years, at least. And it could have been avoided so easily, but there's just so many things about this incident that like, just the fact that they were using Signal, they shouldn't have been using Signal to communicate with 18 different people about, military plans. They shouldn't have obviously invited, even though it was probably an accident, invited a reporter into that Signal group. So like that alone, they 3 years they spent criticizing Hillary Clinton, having investigation after investigation, because she just used an email address that wasn't a government email address. It wasn't going
she had a
personal
server, a personal email server.
But that is immensely more secure than using a Signal chat with 18 different people when Signal could have been easily hacked.
To me, like, to draw a comparison with Hillary, I feel like the use of the personal devices via Signal and the use of a personal email server are pretty much a parallel. But where this is much worse is the fact that they allowed somebody without classified clearances to be in on that conversation. And number two, I think it's much worse because it was military plans that were released before the military action took place. Whereas Hillary, is some classified documents, there are a few of them, but nothing would have resulted in the deaths of military members if it leaked, and it wasn't sent directly. It's not like she's told a journalist, here's access to my email server. That never happened. So I mean, there's parallels, but in many cases, this is much worse. And of course, if you ask somebody on the right, they're going to say, oh no, Hillary's was so worse because there's multiple classified documents, and she deleted some of the emails, which didn't actually happen. It was a company that was managing her server who actually deleted it, and they specifically said she never requested that. She requested it before the subpoena. I don't want to get into that, but this is much worse.
So I want to let Martin go unless there's any more questions. But Martin, really quick, what's your X handle so people can find you? I mean, I really appreciate you coming up. Nobody else did.
So I think it's _ Martin Wolf with 2 Fs and then underscore again. Make sure to follow me, and I've got some music as well, so look up Martin Wolf on Spotify.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
And if anybody else is in the audience and they want to come up and you can challenge us or you can agree with us, feel free to. The link is actually in my tweet that I just retweeted right now. The link, it's a StreamYard link. Just click it, have a video and an audio device hooked up, and you can join us. I do want to let Martin go now, and then I want to get to this video that Aaron Rupar just posted, showing Pete Hegseth, which you should be able to see on my screen here right now. I'm going to play this.
Here to do. Nobody's texting war plans. Well, I noticed this morning, out came something that doesn't look like war plans. And as a matter of fact, they even changed the title to attack plans because they know it's not war plans. There's
Can
no
you pause that
units,
for a minute, Brian?
No locations, no routes, no.
Yeah.
So now their arguing point is that, see, they weren't war plans. They were just attack plans. What the hell is the difference? It doesn't matter. No, we're not at war with Yemen, right? So they're not war plans. They're attack plans, but it's still military operational plans. They still mention the exact time down to the minute of when the attacks were going to take place, the types of weapons we were going to use, the airplanes we were going to use, the exact type of drone that we were about to use, and mention that we're going after the Houthis in Yemen. So if the Houthis got this, they could have set up ballistic missiles. They could have set up anti-aircraft missiles and shot down the F-18s that were flying over, dropping bombs on them. So this is huge.
So exactly. And you see this if you're following right-wing media, especially on X, you see everybody say, oh, no, it wasn't war plans. See, I told you so. It wasn't war plans. Yeah, because we're not officially at war with Yemen because Trump didn't take this to Congress.
There's still war plans. So like if you ask somebody who was in the military, they would say, yeah, those are war plans. In fact, I asked Grok that question. I said, are these war plans? And Grok agreed that they are war plans. And I mean, Grok is AI, but a lot of people on the right rely on what Grok says. They believe Grok is the best AI. So, okay, I mean, it's absurd.
So that's exactly right. But Trump didn't actually take this to Congress. There is no declaration of war. So they can get by saying, oh, see, it's not war plans, but it's the same exact thing. If somebody in the military decided to tweet me plans for the U.S. to take out Iran's nuclear facility in 2 days, and I tweeted it out, do you think that the government would arrest the person that leaked that to me, and probably me as well? Yes. So like, this is no different. This was actual times of attack, weapons that were going to be used in the attack. So this is BS, and it's just them trying to change the narrative and make Democrats look like the ones that are lying. When
this is what
semantics.
This is what I wonder. What happens if, let's say this, and God forbid it doesn't happen. God forbid it happens. God forbid it doesn't happen. But what if, let's say, we plan an attack on Iran? You know, we're going to bomb some of their nuclear sites where they're, getting uranium, right? Let's say we had these plans and somebody in the U.S. military, maybe they're secretly pro-Iran, releases this information to the public. And our military service members are killed because Iran gets word of the attack. And all they'd say are the exact times of the attack, the types of weapons we're using, and that we're going to bomb Iran with, these drones or F-18s. Would that person be able to get off saying, oh no, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said that what I released to the public is not classified or top secret information. It is not war plans. It's just plans of, general things of what they're going to do. Do you think that person would be prosecuted? Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely, as they should.
Right. Exactly. And maybe in the case of the Atlantic editor-in-chief, he won't be, because that's a specific thing that they've said isn't classified. He could so easily use that in order to get out of any criminal indictment. Not to mention he didn't post it until after the actual
Well,
attack.
and
took
you
place.
you mentioned this earlier in a tweet you made, a video, I believe. If this isn't considered classified or top secret information, then what the hell is? Give me a better example of what should be deemed classified information if actual attack plans using U.S. military personnel isn't.
So I brought somebody up. I think this is kind of dangerous because they have a fake picture of Dave Bongino up. But go ahead. Who's speaking? Are you there, or should I just move on? All right, I'm
Yeah.
gonna just move. I'm gonna move on. Let's get back to this video. Let me finish playing it here for a second.
Flight paths, no sources, no methods, no classified information. You know who sees war plans? I see them every single day. I looked at them.
I think you can stop it there. It's just a bunch of junk.
You know who
But-
does attack?
But he says no sources, no method. I mean, we do have the method of how the attack's going to go down, right? We know that they're Tomahawks fired from the sea. We know that it's F-18s. We know it's the M29s, I believe, the attack drones. So there is a lot of information there along with this specific time. He's trying to, he knows he screwed up. He knows he screwed up big time. And he's
Well,
just
here's
every
a question. Here's, don't mean to cut you off, but he said he sees war plans every day. So are these things war plans or aren't they war plans? Because we haven't declared war yet. So he's kind of being a hypocrite there as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, I don't think war plans have to be for attacks that are congressionally declaration war, right? Like I think war plans are and military attack plans are essentially the same thing if you ask most people who are in the military. Of course, there's more detailed war plans. These aren't super detailed. I mean, they're pretty detailed, but like I said earlier, you know, if I tell you I'm flying from Fort Lauderdale to Tokyo, Japan, January 25th at 9:33 a.m., arriving on January 26th at 10:42 a.m. I mean, those are my travel plans, right? But it's not. But I could say, oh, those aren't travel plans because I didn't mention the airline, the flight number, who I'm sitting next to on the plane. I mean, you can always do this, right? You can always say, oh, but it didn't include this.
Yeah. So I want to get to some of the comments in the audience. And like I said on the tweet, there's two ways you can actually communicate with us. You can click the StreamYard link and actually get up here on video and talk to us live on video, which I wish more people would do, especially people that want to push back on us. Just go to the tweet and you'll see the StreamYard link. But you can also comment within the tweet at the video. You click the video first and then you can get to the comment section. I want to bring some of these comments up and then we can reply to them. I just need to check them out really quick, see which ones. Okay, let's bring this one up. I didn't really read it. Johnny 2.0, under Biden in April 2023, a major leak of classified U.S. intelligence documents took place. In October 2024, another leak occurred involving classified documents about Israel's potential attack plans on Iran. Yes, and did we say, oh, this is great and this isn't a national security risk? Did they actually find out who the person that leaked these classified documents were? If they did, they would have been indicted. So
it wasn't Biden's top national security people. It wasn't his Secretary of Defense. It wasn't his DNI. It wasn't all of these. It wasn't the director of the CIA who was leaking this. It was people within the government who were leaking it, and everybody wanted to hold them accountable. Everybody said this is absolutely wrong.
Yeah.
Whereas now we have MAGA saying, "Oh, you know, it's just a little screw up. It's not that big of a deal."
Another comment, Ohana Loy, with an upside down American flag, which means distress. My son is in the military, currently deployed. This screw up scares the hell out of me. And I don't blame you. I mean, I feel that we have the B team or maybe the F team running things right now for the Defense Department and for our national security. It should scare people. And there should be pushback by Congress. There should be investigations into this. And I don't think the Republican-led Congress, both the House and the Senate, I don't think either chambers will hold any sort of major investigation into this. I hope I'm wrong.
Well, so just imagine for a minute if you are the family members or you are one of the military service members who partook in this operation, knowing that before you got into your F-18 and flew over Yemen, before you even did that, there was classified top secret information about exactly what you're not okay, maybe not exactly, but general explanation of what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, what weapons you're going to use, and the country you're going to be bombing. Imagine if something were to happen to one of these people. Imagine what your thoughts are right now, knowing that your mission wasn't as secure as you would think it should be or would be.
All right, so I agreed. So Johnny 2.0. Okay, who has actually gone to jail over anything in the last 10 years? Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to share the screen really fast. You might not be able to read it. Let me see if I can get bigger here. I put it in ChatGPT. I asked who actually got indicted for leaked classified material. Jack Teixeira, who was a former Massachusetts Air National Guardsman, was arrested in April of 2023 for leaking highly classified intel documents on Discord.
I remember that.
He pleaded guilty in March to 6 counts of willful retention and was sentenced to 15 years in prison in November of last year.
So like, what were these documents? I guarantee you it wasn't attack plans that were leaked before the military operation went forth. I guarantee you that. This is so much worse than whatever he could have leaked.
Exactly. And hey, also remember Donald J. Trump was indicted in June of 2023 on 37 criminal counts related to handling of classified materials. Of course, that case got thrown out once he became president. There's also Asif Rockman and Joshua Schultz, who both leaked classified intel.
Reality Winner too. Remember her?
Reality Winner. Yep. She was the more liberal woman who leaked documents and went to prison, I think, for 5 years before eventually getting out. And
I mean,
that was
Edward Snowden. There's so many. Like, this happens often, and if this happened by anyone who wasn't, one of Trump's loyalists, they would be probably sitting in a jail cell right now, awaiting charges for leaking classified documents.
Best part. So Komath the grower. Best part, probably pronounced that wrong. Best part is you never made a peep about the left and its countless mishandling of everything government related over the last 20 years. Straight clown with a lisp. Okay. So do you have examples this flagrant in mind, or are you just, throwing out nothingness?
Well, so this is what bothers me, because she's using whataboutism, and for the last 4 years, whenever somebody on the left would say anything about Trump, they would be attacked. Stop using whataboutism. But here's what really bothers me is you're attacking us, saying we never did this. You don't know what we've condemned before. I've condemned Hillary's stuff. I've condemned the fact that Biden had classified documents in his garage. I have done that in the past. Are you condemning this? You specifically, are you condemning this right now?
I'll see if they reply, but I'm guessing there's not going to be a reply there. I hope they do reply. I'd like to hear it. Let's see. Huge nothing burger. It's hilarious watching you clowns with the latest gotcha moment. This is anything but a nothing burger. This is like very, very serious. This is, like I said, probably one of the worst national security lapses in the last 30 years. Maybe even
tell
more than
somebody
that.
who flies F-18s that this was a nothing burger. I dare you to tell somebody that.
Here's another one. Be Safe 3. Where are the Democrats on this? For us in Europe, they are very conspicuous by now, not been conspicuous, no leadership, no exposure, etc. Democrats have been pushing back on this. There have been some of the major Democrats come out in full force and criticize this. But it's like they're powerless. They don't have control of the House. They don't have control of the Senate. They can't spark some large investigation into this.
You can't
because-
even call for the impeachment of, let's say, Pete Hegseth or Tulsi Gabbard because they're not impeachable.
Exactly. So I mean, I am a critic of the Democratic Party. I think that they're toothless. I think they're a bunch of toothless old men who basically now can't fight back and don't know what way to go and are lost and
Well,
going crazy.
I think some of them. I think
Well,
some of them.
yeah, in general, I'm generalizing the party right now. And I think this is about to change. I think a lot of young candidates are going to be running in 2026. I think that a lot of the young candidates like Ro Khanna, like John Ossoff, a lot of those people are coming out and pushing back. And the AOC is as well. Bernie Sanders is. Obviously, he's not young, but you get the point. I do think that is changing. I don't think they have a ton of ammunition right now to deal with things, and they won't until these midterm elections. I do like the fact that some of these elections that we're seeing, special elections that we're seeing, are moving more towards Democrats, which is a good sign.
Yeah, I mean, it's partially toothlessness, but it's also partially they just can't do anything. They just don't have the ability to do anything because the loyalists are in the CIA, loyalists in the FBI and the DNI, and in Congress,
at the heads.
Yeah, and in Congress, it's all Republicans. Majority belongs to Republican majority in the Senate, Republican majority in the House, and they're kind of handcuffed right now. Hopefully, things change, and we see at least the House flip Democrat in 2026, so that they can kind of regains a little bit of control here.
Yeah, here's Ado the Mac. Will Hegseth be including this in his 5 things I did at work email this week? It should be included. I mean, maybe this would probably account for all 5 because it's such a doozy. What else? I'm not reading these, so some of these might be bad. I'm the only Democrat. I mean, only general. I am you. Okay, that was just totally random stuff. Okay, so Comoth the grower replied back. I thank you. It's obviously a mess up, LOL, but think about the whole story. The entire left wing is completely disconnected from reality. I mean, I agree that some people on the left are too extreme and some of the things they push are a little bit disconnected from reality. But I mean, you guys voted for the convicted felon, the guy that was found liable of sexual assault and fraud, and bankrupted 6 companies, and now is putting all these tariffs in place and basically possibly sparking a recession. And
gas prices are higher. Gas prices are higher today than they were when Trump took over.
Yeah, so are food prices. So I mean, I would say that's a little bit disconnected from reality too. Young voters are leaning conservative, both male and female, because the left is so far out there. Example, men competing in women's sports, completely a left-wing talking about. But that's actually a point that the far left is pushing. Like most people on the left that I speak to, they're usually against that. And myself included, I don't think that trans women should be playing, or trans women should be playing in women's sports. I think that there's some issues there.
But see, this is what you guys do. You use
there's like 10 trans athletes that are competing in women's sports, I think. And you, like Ed said, you use these far left talking points to try and paint the entire party in that way, and it distracts from the actual things like the economy, like gas prices, like egg prices, like
it distracts from stuff like what took place today that could have resulted in service members losing their lives. It distracts from stuff like, Trump putting tariffs on our allies, which are likely going to result in inflation increasing and the economy stagnating. So I mean, they're just so minimal. The things you talk about are so minimal, and so few Democrats actually support it. You just find the ones that do and use their words to paint the entire party as being pro transgender women and women's sports. No, that's not how it is. Most Democrats don't think transgender women should be playing in women's sports. Some Democrats do believe that it should be up to the leagues to make those decisions, or the states to make those decisions, rather than the federal government. Just like you want states' rights and you want smaller government, Democrats tend to want smaller government in the more social issues. So you can keep doing it, but people are going to realize it. The pendulum swings, right? I don't think we're going to have a president that serves 2 terms again for a long, long time. And I think we're going to have, it's going to go Democrat, Republican, because of the way social media is today, because of the way social media allows these narratives to just go viral and catch fire. And, it's just like propaganda to the extreme.
Yeah, and both sides do it. I would argue that the right does it way, way more. And it's probably going to go Republican, Democrat, AI, maybe AI a little bit before that. And I'm
kind of
half
hoping it's AI pretty soon. Maybe it can resolve some of the division.
Okay, here's another one. Collectively, Craig, separate church and state. I'm the president. He's an entity with certain behaviors. They can't help it. The second beast was given power to give breath to the okay, I don't know. That's
some of this stuff's really bizarre. I feel like I'm.
The country is leaning right. LL. How do you think Trump wins? Okay, so every 4 years, the country shifts in the opposite direction. That's usually how it goes, especially in the last 16 years or so, 12 years or so. Yes, the country pushed more to the right in this last election, just like it pushed more to the left in the election prior. And just
you
like
might not acknowledge that, because you say the election was stolen, which is just another excuse to cognitively move it out of your sight and believe what Trump tells you to believe.
Yeah, and in 2028, it's going to be moved more to the left. I'm pretty sure of that. Maybe I'll be wrong, but by the way, looks of some of these special elections,
I think 2026 we're going to see it move back to the left.
Yeah, I would be surprised if Democrats don't take the House back in 2026. And yes, the men are voting more to the right lately, and I think a lot of that has to do, and this might offend some people on the left, the fact that Democrats have well, and it's not that they've made it a huge point, but Republicans have made it appear that Democrats are making the trans issues a huge point, and that's pushing younger Democratic men away because they don't want to be associated with trans stuff. And it's sad that that's the way it's happening. Women in the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, women are voting more to the left. And you can see that in the last election, I believe. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on that. All right, let's see. Democrats will take back. Yes, I agree. I think that in 2026, Democrats will take things back. I do think money is going to be a big issue, though. I think that people like Musk, a lot of these billionaires are donating more to the right because the right is catering to what they want at the whim of the middle class, hurting the lower class. So it's going to take a lot of grassroots power to squash some of that money's power in the next election.
The economy is issue number one in pretty much every single election, right? We saw it with Trump. Trump lost the election because he was blamed for the COVID recession. How much blame you actually want to put on him, that's completely up to you. I think, most likely we would have had a recession no matter who was president, right? And same with inflation with Biden. We would have had inflation no matter who was president, but Biden gets blamed for that. So the economy is ultimately what's going to determine, the support for Trump. He made some big promises. He promised to cut grocery prices. Hasn't happened, hasn't even come close to happening yet. He's promised to cut energy prices in half within the first 12 to 18 months. Energy prices are a mixed bag. Gas prices are up. Natural gas is up. Electricity's about the same. We've seen oil prices come down a little bit. So I mean, it hasn't come close to being even 10% rather than being 50%. So that's going to be a huge issue. If we go into a recession, if we continue to see inflation, that's going to be huge. And people are going to vote because people typically vote for the economy.
Hal said, to understand Trump cult, you must grasp the psychology of it. And I don't like saying that everybody that voted for Trump is a cult member because I don't believe that. But I do think that MAGA and Trumpism, it has a lot of parallels with cultism and cults. And some people who vote MAGA are in what I would categorize as a pseudo cult. And it's why no matter what Trump does, he's never wrong. No matter what he says, he's always right. And I think that that is dangerous. And I think that that is some of why Trump has won. He has this cult-like following.
Yeah, I mean, every Trump voter isn't a cult member. I'm not, it's not, I can't say that. I'm not going to say that. But there's definitely Trump supporters who treat MAGA as a cult. Absolutely 100%. And there's a large portion of them. And this isn't just Republicans. There's cultists in every party for everybody. There's like the Bernie Bros. Many of them are cultists. Not, I wouldn't say many. There's a handful of them who are cultists. Just like Biden, there are people who would adhere to anything that Biden did, no matter what. And I think a part of it is because they hate the other side so much that they're going to do whatever they can to defend their own.
Here's Lontard. It's a populist movement that doesn't make it a cult. It absolutely is a populist movement. It's populism, but it's a weird, it's kind of a populist movement that is eating itself. Basically, a populist movement that's voting against their best interests. Most of MAGA are middle class Americans, some of them lower class, and they're voting for the best interest of billionaires. But they're doing this because Trumpism is distracting the fact that they're benefiting billionaires by putting out this culture war and by pushing culture war on these people. And that hatred that culture war sparks outweighs the downside of MAGA hurting the middle class while boosting the billionaires.
So I would say, if you think that Nazis and Nazism and Hitler, if you think that that was a cult, or there are cultists who, were in that movement, then you can't say that this doesn't have any cultism at all. And I'm not saying Trump is Hitler. I'm not saying Hitler is Trump. I'm just saying, if you think that the Nazi Party was merely a populist movement, then okay, then you can say the same about Trump. But if you think that there was some cult-like activity within the Nazi Party, with Hitler, then I think you have to say that there's definitely some of that in MAGA.
Here we go. Justin, fair to ask if Harris winning would have guaranteed no slip-ups. Biden's crew botched Afghanistan intel and we looked weak globally. Trump's team messed up for sure, but is there data showing the other side's hands were cleaner? Now, if you can't predict what would have happened if Harris won, right? I'm sure they would have slipped up, messed up things, right? But to say, oh, Harris would have messed up too as an excuse for Trump messing things up, I think that's a cop-out, and you're trying to shift blame and not face reality and face criticism towards your own party.
We didn't see this. We didn't see a slip-up like this with top secret military operational plans leak from the top dogs of the Biden administration.
Yeah, and you can throw Afghanistan out. That's what everybody's doing. Biden in Afghanistan. And yes, 13 military personnel were killed. It was horrible that had to happen. But how many people died in the U.S. military under Biden compared to under Trump? It was hundreds and hundreds less because Biden got us out of Afghanistan. Now, when Trump left office, he had this plan in place. This basic plan that we had to leave Afghanistan by a certain date. This was an agreement that he made with Afghanistan.
No, with the Taliban, without Afghanistan having any say in it. It was him meeting with the Taliban leaders in the United States. I believe that at Camp David, wasn't it? With the Taliban leaders, the terrorist organization, he made the agreement with them to leave by a certain date and left that for Biden to handle.
and in the meantime, release, what was it, 5,000 Taliban prisoners, and just a total mess.
Trump did
on
that,
the
not
ground.
Biden. Trump released the 5,000 Taliban prisoners.
Right. So I mean, I don't even want to get into Afghanistan.
This shouldn't even be like, we shouldn't even
Right.
be talking about this because we're here and now. That's in the past. Nobody's saying like, oh, should we be saying that because Biden did this, Trump should be allowed to do this? Or because Hillary Clinton had a private email server that you guys attacked for 7 straight years, it makes it okay that Trump does this? That might be worse than that. No, that's not how it works. If you criticize that, you have to criticize this, or you just come off as, being delusional or being brainwashed.
Yeah. Eat the rich. What is worse for Trump? Sending non-gang member Venezuelans to El Salvador or Signalgate? It's like apples and oranges. I think constitutionally, the Venezuelans being sent to El Salvador who are not gang members, even if they are gang members, that shouldn't be happening. That's the case. National security wise, Signalgate.
So, like, this is something that really has bothered me, the whole Venezuelan immigrants being sent to El Salvador. So, we are deporting Venezuelan immigrants under the guise that they're gang members without any proof whatsoever that they actually are gang members. Many of them say they have nothing to do with the gangs. Many of them say that many of them were actually in the legal asylum process awaiting their hearings for asylum. So they were here legally, actually, awaiting asylum. Many of them were here doing that. Trump takes them, they're from Venezuela, and sends them to prisons in El Salvador, where they have no access to visitations. Their family members haven't even been able to communicate with them. And they're being imprisoned, being forced to sleep on concrete floors in a country where they've never been in many cases, is absurd. Like you said, even if they were gang members, okay, then arrest them and put them in prisons in America, or charge them with a crime, deport them to Venezuela, do something, but make sure it's in line with the Constitution. You don't just send them to prison camps in a developing nation that's known for inhumane prison conditions. I'm sorry, that really aggravates me, what took place there, and I hope somebody is held responsible.
Yeah, it's about as anti-American and anti-Constitution as anything can get.
We don't want gang members here. Nobody wants gang members. Nobody wants violent immigrants here, right? But do it with due process. Do it using the American legal system. Do it in line with the Constitution. And don't tell me the Alien Enemy Act gives him cover to pick and choose who he thinks are gang members, or I guess according to the Alien Enemy Act, so individuals from nations that we were at war with. He doesn't get to just pick and choose at will who's guilty. He's not the judge and jury. He can't do that.
Exactly. I totally agree there. Let's see. America Inc. I agree, and unfortunately, the cult leaders use the same techniques to amass large followings on social media. This is. I'll say something really quick about this. The right has excelled this election cycle, not only because of money, and money was a big part, but more importantly, because they have figured out social media and they figured out the influencer culture, right? The left hasn't done this. If you looked at the top political influencers online right now, it's probably traffic-wise and follower-wise, it's probably about 3 or 4 to 1 right-leaning versus left-leaning. So if Democrats are going to come back from this, they need to start reaching out online. They need to start creating these personas online and boosting these online activities of the left. The right does that. Trump retweets, podcasters all the time. Politicians on the right, they retweet, they share podcast media personalities all the time. You don't see that on the left. And I think that's a big problem, and that needs to be corrected.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's probably a good place to end today. I think we had a good discussion. I appreciate the people who commented. I think, you know, we had Mike come up here and talk to us. Just, you know, take some time, turn off Fox News, watch CNN. And if you're doing the opposite, if you're watching CNN or MSNBC all the time, turn that off, watch Fox News. Just get the perspective of the other side. And don't just do it once a month. Do it every couple days, just so you can kind of see what the other side is saying. And then use your head without thinking about, you know, I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat. Use your head to come up with your own thoughts on these matters.
Yeah, and I just want to quickly say thank you for joining us. We want to do these more often. I like getting people to come up through that StreamYard link, but we had to figure out a way to advertise that more. Maybe I should just put that in the scrolling thing where Krasencast is. But you can subscribe to us on Krasencast.com. It's our Substack. We don't charge anything for anything, so like we're not trying to grift you out of anything. We do accept subscriptions, but that's so unnecessary. We're not asking anybody to subscribe for money. It's free. We put out a newsletter. We post over there. Also follow us on Blue Sky. It's krasenstein.bsky.social. And of course, our Twitter handles are right down below here. Yeah, thank you. Follow us on Twitter, of course. As much as we hate some of the discourse on Twitter, I think it's important that we don't totally pull back from that venue. Blue Sky has been great as well. I really like Blue Sky. I think it's a great way for Democrats, especially, to kind of congregate and organize. And it's going to be important for the next 2 years and the next 4 years, moving on to the next election cycle. So thanks again, and we'll see you again very soon.